What if the Saiyans had more of a story and history? We have a backstory for the Saiyans, but it's very bland and it's been retconned multiple times. So what if instead we made a story where we could give the Saiyans the proper backstory they deserve and make a much more interesting story for the Saiyans, starting from the beginning of the Saiyan civilization? We all know, however, in this universe, we have three different groups of Saiyans in the beginning. We have the Warrior Saiyans. This tribe of Saiyans have the most physical strength out of all three groups of Saiyans. However, it's not by a huge margin. They also aren't the smartest tools in the shed, being kinda dumb to be honest. Having average intelligence, however, they make up for it with their fighting ability and overwhelming power to grow more than the other groups of Saiyans in the heat of battle. The next group of Saiyans is the spiritual Saiyans. These Saiyans are a little bit weaker than the warrior Saiyans. However, they make up for it with their spiritual powers and being able to heal themselves. But they can't regenerate limbs. They can make astral projections of themselves too to get over the opponent in battle. The last group of Saiyans are the industrial Saiyans. These Saiyans are a little bit weaker than the warrior or even the spiritual Saiyans. However, their intelligence is off the charts, being ahead of their fellow brethren and creating new technology and actually getting along with the other groups of aliens on the other side of the planet, the Tuffles. I'm gonna be changing one thing about the Tuffles. They will have two types of people. The first type of people is the normal ones, having very high intelligence and being the same as in canon. However, the second type of Tuffle is different. These Tuffles are like Baby from Dragon Ball GT, but a little bit more of the watered down version. Some being stronger than others. They have increased strength unlike the normal type of Tuffles. However, they aren't as strong as any type of Saiyan. They even have this secret ancient technique that allows them to take over someone's body. However, this technique is very dangerous and has actually killed some Tuffles in the past, and none of them are able to perform it, as it's very painful and strenuous technique. One thing all three groups have in common of the Saiyans is that their love for battle and bloodshed. They love the taste of blood, and having tails that allows them to grow into great apes makes their bloodshed and malice even stronger. A couple centuries later, the Tuffles and the Saiyans get into a civil war. The Saiyans are tired of being cavemen by the Tuffles, and the Saiyans think it's finally time to put the Tuffles in their place and kill them off once and for all. The war goes on for many decades. The stronger type of Tuffles try to fight off the Saiyans, but their Saiyans' overwhelming strength is too great, and the Tuffles are being held back. However, the Tuffles use their brains for fights and are able to win their fair share of the battles, until one day, a full moon comes over their planet. The Saiyans stomp and kill all the Tuffles, except for one that goes away and is able to escape the planet, his name being Baby. The Saiyans celebrate their victory, however, not for long. A new battle intenses in the planet with the three types of Saiyans. The industrial Saiyans are being tired of being looked down upon by their fellow brethren. They are now putting their foot down, and this battle is intense and lasts for many years. However, the industrial Saiyans are kind of on the back foot the whole entire war until the warrior Saiyans and the spiritual Saiyans get into a heated fight, and they're really the main focus of this war. It lasts for many, many years until the warrior Saiyans come across somebody from a different realm. The Saiyans make a deal with this mysterious figure, this being the warrior Saiyans the powerful ability of the Zenkai. The Zenkai boost when a warrior Saiyan is being to the brink of death activates, giving them a huge power boost. This power allows the warrior Saiyans to completely wipe out the spiritual Saiyans, ending them for good, with their leader King Vegeta the First as their leader. But the warrior Saiyans keep some of the industrial Saiyans alive, as their intelligence is useful and will help them to create a ship to get off this planet, as it has nothing to offer and is a complete wasteland after the war. All the Saiyans migrate to the planet Plant and settle there. Soon, evil Saiyans and good Saiyans start to emerge years later, and they have an epic war. King Vegeta the First leading the charge for the evil Saiyans, and Yamoshi leading the charge for the good Saiyans. Yamoshi and King Vegeta the First seem to be equal in power. However, the king has a slight edge and is able to put Yamoshi on the back foot until Yamoshi becomes a Super Saiyan. With this power, Yamoshi is able to get back into the fight. However, since there are so many good evil Saiyans, Yamoshi falls again. until the rest of his five friends pour their energy into Yamoshi for one final stand. Yamoshi gets up and starts to overflow with a divine presence. His aura and his hair turn red as he transcends into Super Saiyan God. His presence being so great that some of the weaker Saiyans fall down to their knees and some of them die just from the presence of the Super Saiyan God. Even with this incredible power, Yamoshi tires himself out and is killed along with most of the good Saiyans, but a few of them went into hiding. King Vegeta the First would go on to have a royal lineage. Then we get to King Vegeta the Third, Vegeta's father. He's reckless and thinks no one could usurp his power in his kingdom, especially with his son Prince Vegeta growing stronger and stronger by the day, being born recently and having a very high battle power for his age. However, he didn't count for King Cold and his family to arrive on his planet. King Vegeta tries to fight them, however he is brutally beaten and bullied by King Cold. King Cold is willing to spare Vegeta's miserable life if him and his people work for him to conquer planets. King Vegeta doesn't want to work under King Cold. However, he dislikes conquering other people, and he doesn't have much of a choice anyway if we're being honest. Thus, an evil alliance is formed with the Saiyans and the Cold Empire. However, that's all I'll be covering, as the rest of the Saiyan history will go the same. I hope you enjoyed this new backstory for the Saiyans.